The airplane touched down just as the golden light of sunset spilled across the runway. After almost a year in London, all Ethan Hayes wanted was home. Home wasn't just the city where he'd grown up. Home had a name. Emily Carter, his best friend. For 12 years, they had shared everything: school lunches, graduation dreams, late-night phone calls, family holidays, and countless promises that no matter where life took them, they'd always find their way back to each other. When Ethan received an opportunity to spend a year overseas managing an international engineering project, Emily had been the one who convinced him to go. "You'll regret staying," she had told him at the airport. "And what if everything changes while I'm gone?" She smiled. "Then we'll change together." Those words stayed with him every single day. Every weekend they called. Every birthday they celebrated over video chat. Every bad day ended with one of them texting the other. Yet something had changed during the last month. Emily replied less often. Their video calls became shorter. Sometimes she claimed she was busy. Sometimes she simply didn't answer. Whenever Ethan asked if everything was all right, she always laughed. "I'm just exhausted." He wanted to believe her. But deep down, something didn't feel right. Then fate handed him the perfect opportunity. His project finished 2 weeks earlier than expected. Instead of telling anyone, he booked the first flight home. Not even Emily knew. He imagined the moment 100 times during the flight. She'd open the apartment door, freeze, cover her mouth, then throw her arms around him laughing. He even stopped by her favorite bakery on the way from the airport. Warm cinnamon rolls. Exactly the kind she always stole from his plate whenever they had breakfast together. The paper bag filled the car with the smell of butter and cinnamon. He smiled. She's going to lose her mind. Traffic was unusually light. Within 30 minutes, he pulled into the familiar apartment complex where Emily had lived for almost 4 years. Nothing looked different. The same flower beds, the same fountain, the same old security guard reading newspapers in the lobby. Even the elevator still made the same annoying noise between the 3rd and 4th floor. Ethan laughed quietly. Some things never changed. His heart pounded as he walked toward apartment 4B. The paper bag hung from one hand. His suitcase stood beside him. He raised his hand, knocked once. Silence. Then footsteps. Fast footsteps. The door unlocked. His smile grew wider. The door swung open. Emily stood there. For 1 second, she simply stared, not smiling, not speaking. Her face became completely pale. "Ethan." Her voice barely existed. He laughed. Surprise. Instead of jumping into his arms, she looked terrified. Actually terrified. Her eyes darted nervously over her shoulder into the apartment. She stepped outside quickly and pulled the door nearly shut behind her. "What are you doing here?" "I finished early." She swallowed hard. "You weren't supposed to be home for another 2 weeks." The excitement inside him slowly faded. "I wanted to surprise you." She forced a smile. It definitely worked. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Emily always hugged him. Always. Today she hadn't even touched him. He held out the bakery bag. "I brought cinnamon rolls." She looked at them for several long seconds before quietly taking the bag. "Thank you." No excitement. No laughter. Just gratitude. An awkward silence settled between them. Ethan tried joking. "So, no dramatic movie reunion?" She managed a weak smile. "I've just had a stressful day." Before he could answer, a loud crash came from inside the apartment. Emily froze. Her face lost all color. Without thinking, she stepped backward, blocking the doorway completely. "I should." She hesitated. "I should clean that up." Ethan frowned. "Is someone here?" "No." Her answer came too quickly. "I dropped something before opening the door." He looked toward the apartment. For just a brief moment, he thought he heard another voice. "Mail." Then complete silence. Emily gently pushed the door a little farther closed. "I'll call you later." "What?" She looked close to tears. "I really can't do this right now." His stomach tightened. For 12 years, Emily had never once asked him to leave. Not once. He picked up his suitcase slowly. "Okay," she whispered. "I'm sorry." He nodded. "It's fine." But it wasn't. As he walked back toward the elevator, he could feel her watching him. When the elevator doors finally closed, he caught one last glimpse of her, standing alone, still holding the bag of cinnamon rolls, crying. Instead of driving home, Ethan parked across the street. None of this made sense. Emily wasn't acting guilty. She wasn't acting angry. She looked scared. Almost 20 minutes passed. Lights remained on inside her apartment. No movement. Then, A man stepped onto the balcony. Tall, dark-haired, around Ethan's age. He carried 2 coffee mugs. His heart stopped. The man looked back inside the apartment and smiled warmly. A second later, Emily joined him. She accepted one of the mugs. The two stood together beneath the evening sky. Ethan felt every hopeful dream from the flight home begin to collapse. Who was he? Why hadn't she simply told him? Why had she looked frightened instead of happy? Most importantly, why did it hurt so much? He realized something that he had refused to admit for an entire year. Emily had never just been his best friend. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, he had fallen in love with her. He simply hadn't realized it until the moment he thought he had lost her. His phone vibrated. A text message. From Emily. Please trust me. Things aren't what they look like. I just need one day. I'll explain everything tomorrow. He stared at the message for a long time. One day? After waiting an entire year. What difference could one more day possibly make? He started the engine. Drove away. Completely unaware that tomorrow's explanation would change not only their friendship, but both of their lives forever. The truth behind the door. Ethan barely slept. Emily's message echoed through his mind all night. Please trust me. Things aren't what they look like. I just need one day. Trust her? He wanted to. After 12 years of friendship, trusting Emily should have been the easiest thing in the world. Instead, it had become the hardest. The next morning, he found himself standing outside a small coffee shop overlooking the river. It was the place where they always met whenever one of them had something important to say. Emily arrived 10 minutes late. She looked exhausted. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. Her usually cheerful smile was nowhere to be found. She sat across from him without speaking. Neither of them touched the coffee the waiter placed on the table. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. Who was he? Emily closed her eyes for a second. I knew that would be your first question. Because you wouldn't even let me inside. She nodded slowly. I know. You looked scared. I was. Of me? No. Her answer came instantly. Never of you. Ethan leaned forward. Then tell me what's going on. Emily looked around the cafe before lowering her voice. The man you saw. His name is Daniel. Ethan waited. He's my cousin. Ethan blinked. Your cousin? She nodded. He moved here 3 weeks ago. The tension inside Ethan eased slightly. But that's not the whole story. His stomach tightened again. My aunt passed away 6 months ago. I didn't tell anyone. Daniel lost everything after that. He had nowhere to go. So I let him stay with me. Ethan stared at her. You've been taking care of him? And his 8-year-old daughter. Ethan frowned. Daughter? Emily nodded. She's been through more than any child ever should. For weeks, she's been terrified of strangers. When you knocked yesterday, Emily looked down at her hands. She panicked. The crash you heard? She dropped a picture frame while hiding. I didn't know how to explain everything without frightening her even more. Silence filled the table. Ethan suddenly remembered the fear in Emily's eyes. It hadn't been guilt. It had been worry. I thought. He laughed bitterly. I know what you thought. She offered a small, tired smile. I saw it on your face. He rubbed the back of his neck. I'm sorry. You flew across the world to surprise me. And I sent you away. I'd probably think the same thing. For several seconds, they simply looked at each other. Then Ethan asked quietly, why didn't you tell me before? Emily sighed. Because every time we talked, you were so excited about your project. You sounded happy. I didn't want my problems to become yours. He shook his head. They've always been my problems. Her eyes filled with tears. You still don't get it. What? You've been my home since we were 16. The words stole his breath. I just didn't want your first day back to be filled with sadness. Before Ethan could answer, Emily's phone rang. Her face immediately changed. She answered. Daniel. A pause. What happened? Another pause. I'm coming. She stood so quickly her chair nearly fell over. The school called. Emma had a panic attack. I have to go. Without thinking, Ethan stood too. I'm coming with you. She hesitated. You don't have to. I know. He smiled softly. But I want to. For the first time since he'd returned home. Emily smiled. A real smile. One he'd missed every single day abroad. An hour later, Ethan found himself sitting on the floor of a children's counseling room. 8-year-old Emma quietly colored pictures at a tiny table. She kept glancing toward him. Emily knelt beside her. This is Ethan. My oldest friend. Emma whispered. The cinnamon roll man? Emily laughed through her tears. Yes. The cinnamon roll man. Emma looked at Ethan. My aunt says you're funny. Ethan smiled. She's usually wrong. Emma giggled. It was the first time anyone had heard her laugh all day. Emily looked at Ethan with eyes full of gratitude. At that moment, he realized something. He hadn't flown home just to surprise his best friend. He had come home exactly when she needed him most. As the three of them walked out of the school together into the warm afternoon sunlight, Ethan reached for the bakery bag he'd brought the day before. The cinnamon rolls were still inside. He handed one to Emma. She smiled from ear to ear. Then, without warning, she grabbed both Ethan's and Emily's hands. The three of them crossed the parking lot together. For the first time in a year, it felt like home. But neither Ethan nor Emily realized that the biggest surprise still lay ahead. That evening, Daniel pulled Ethan aside. There is something Emily will never tell you herself. Ethan looked at him. What is it? Daniel smiled knowingly. She didn't stop replying to your messages because she stopped caring. He paused. She stopped because every time she heard your voice, she cried. Ethan stood frozen. And there is one more thing. Daniel reached into his pocket and handed Ethan a small velvet box. It's hers. She asked me to hide it until she was brave enough. Ethan slowly opened it. Inside was a simple silver ring. Beneath it rested a tiny folded note. His hands trembled as he unfolded the paper. Only 6 handwritten words appeared. If he comes home, tell him yes. To be continued. Redheart, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.